Welcome to the Marvelous Moms Club podcast, where you'll be not only allowed, but encouraged to dream big dreams and imagine the very best future for yourself and your family. Throw away expectations and perfection and embrace the messy beauty of what it means to be a marvelous mom. I'm your host, Kirsten Tyrell, and I can't wait to help you discover what makes you marvelous.
Do you know what I really love is when I record an entire podcast episode and then go back and listen to it and it's garbage. It's a total piece of garbage because the settings weren't right and I should have paused to listen. Hi everybody, welcome to today's 5-Minute Friday. If I didn't capture your attention already, oh man, it's going to be a great episode, just like all of the episodes, because I love this podcast and I love being with you and hanging out with you. So I have a big announcement at the end, so stay tuned for that because I'm dropping major truth here on this episode. But I wanted to talk about something that's kind of been on my heart and mind and something I've contemplated because recently I started listening to earlier episodes of the podcast, like the first 3 to 5 episodes, maybe a little bit more than that. And there's a purpose behind that you don't need to know right now, blah, blah, blah. But I was listening to these and I was overcome with this, like, have you guys ever just loved your past self where you're like, bless your heart, you made it here, you're still standing, and things have turned out A-okay. Have you ever had that moment? Like, maybe not, but maybe like when you're watching home videos. Oh my gosh, that's another rabbit hole. I found a bunch of files on an old hard drive and I was watching videos. I have discovered a few things about myself. Number one, I did not used to know how to take very good care of myself when it came to makeup. Oh my word, the days of brows, I'm so glad we've come as far as we have, folks. Number two, I really love comfortable clothing, and you can see me wearing the same hideous pairs of pants for months on end in all of the videos. Like I had these green, oh my gosh, what are they? Not microfiber, they're like velour pants. And I remember my mom hating to see me in them. And yes, it was when I lived with my mom. Before you guys ever met me and before Marvelous Moms Club started, I was living at home with 2 of our kids and Ben, and I remember her being like, take those pants off, they're awful. Now seeing them in the videos, I'm like, I'm so sorry to every person who had to encounter me wearing those high water green velour pants and sneakers. If you've ever worn something you are super embarrassed about, please go tell me on Instagram right now. Like literally stop, screenshot the episode, go share to your stories and tell me the most hideous style trend you've ever, or maybe not, it's not even a trend. This was like my own world of hideousness. Okay, let's move into a more positive space. We're talking about loving our past selves, and I'm sitting here shaming my past self. I'm just glad to know I'm consistent. I'm sitting here wearing stretchy pants right now, in fact, and from the waist up, I look fantastic. From the waist down, it's all just comfy. So, listening to these episodes, I was just thinking, like, you had no idea what you were in for. You were, bless your heart, doing 5 episodes a week of this show and trying to turn it into something, and you had not a clue what you were doing. And I just want to reach through time and space and say, Kirsten Tyrell, you have done amazing things by being brave and showing up even when you didn't have it all figured out. It all turns out great. You know, it's like telling yourself from the future, it's going to work out. You're going to win. You're going to marry a super awesome, amazing person. You're going to have beautiful children and don't even worry about it. That's kind of what it's like. So anyway, in such a strange way, I feel like that concept is comforting me now as I'm going through new struggles and new growing pains in business and life and family. And I'm, in a strange way, being comforted by the notion of my future self, right? Like there's a lot of really uplifting and comforting things around me. There's always God, and he raises me up for real. Like I am walking in faith right now. Every single day is showing up in faith. But part of that, the visual, I think for me is like, there is a future version of myself. She exists, and she in the future has accomplished things that I don't even know about right now. I don't need to make sense of the how. I don't need to understand every single step that's going to get me there. All I need to do is be present today and make sure that the actions I'm taking are aligning with the future version of myself that I'm trying to become. Oh, that's like Marty McFly heavy, right? You're just like, okay, so what's the math equation here? It's actually really simple, and I don't think it ever sounded too complicated, giving myself a lot of credit for sounding very scientific. But really, it's just as simple as, if I do this, guys, write yourself a letter from your future self addressing your current self and what she would want you to know and what she has accomplished. And then really think about that and internalize that and think, is this future version who's your ideal self? Let me talk about the ideal self too for just a minute, because in these first few episodes of the podcast, if you go back and listen, I share how the mission of the podcast was that if there was this version of ourselves we saw before we became mothers, that there was this ideal version of motherhood, that if we could dream it, we can achieve it. It exists somewhere within us, right? And I do believe in continuing to work hard to become that ideal version. It doesn't mean striving for perfection or becoming an obsessive perfectionist. It means not giving up on the ideal, not giving up on that little thing inside of you that said, you're going to be the most marvelous mom ever. You're going to be a light to your children. You're going to raise very smart, wonderful, beautiful, happy, well-adjusted children. And even though day by day it's hard, if you hold to that ideal, if you believe in that future, then every action you're going to take, even when you make mistakes, they in some way are getting you closer to that ideal. And someday, if you can write out now what you want your children to say about you someday, I can guarantee that if you align your actions and the way that you're raising your family with that ideal future, what you want them to say about you, what you want them to feel and experience, then that is what's going to happen. So anytime you're facing something hard, I think it helps to look back to the future. No, just kidding. Back to the past and think, who did I used to be? What have I already made it through? What have I accomplished? And how am I going to be even better tomorrow, today? What am I doing in this moment to help me to become the best version of myself for my family, for myself, for my business, for my spouse? What is it? You know, if you can write yourself that letter and you can look at the past version, you can look at the future version that you're striving to become. Man, I lost my train of thought there, but it's going to work. It's going to be a beautiful thing when you can totally embrace the fact that even though today is hard and tomorrow might even be harder, every day is getting you closer to becoming this future version of yourself who's going to look back and love who you are right now. So give yourself a hug from your future self because she is cheering you on. She wants you to succeed and she believes in you with her whole heart. All right. Before I keep going too deep and confuse myself, keep in mind too that I've already recorded this episode once. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm repeating and what I'm not repeating. All right, now for the announcement. This is not meant to be a sad thing. This is a really, really exciting thing. As you know, I've talked a lot about like making those little small adjustments and shifts in your life. And I'm just shifting a little bit. And I've tried to do this before, but this time it makes complete sense. I have so much clarity with it. The Marvelous Moms Club brand has served me so well for a really long time. And I love the community we've built. I love all of you guys for listening and sharing and taking part in it. And I feel like we were just starting to catch this wave, but there have been some changes in our lives. And I'm like, I was laying awake one night and I was actually praying and I was kind of thinking like, what should I do? Like, what is my next move? How can I still have this entrepreneurial like drive within me, but really be invested in this new life because we've decided to homeschool, we're traveling more. And the words came into my head, full-time family. And I was like, oh, I love that. It was not my own thoughts. This was completely inspired. And so in October 2019, we are launching as a family, the Full-Time Family podcast, meaning we'll be sharing other people with you. We'll be sharing our adventures. There will be episodes with the kids, episodes with Ben and I, sharing about our travel adventures, our homeschool process, our entrepreneurial vision, whatever, journey. I just lost the word for it. But all of those things, you don't have to be a homeschool parent to appreciate this podcast. You don't have to be a traveling family to appreciate this podcast. And you don't have to be an entrepreneur. But you're going to have your cup filled because our whole goal is to bring focus back to the family. And I'm so excited to launch this. And so Marvelous Moms will be phasing out in October to make way for Full-Time Family because, guys, I am one human and I cannot do a bunch of things really well. I want this to be the most spectacular thing that I've ever put out there. And I believe in it so much. I believe in the mission and what we're trying to create for families. And I believe that families are so important that we need to be bringing more attention and more love back to them. So that's what's coming. I can't wait to share more with you guys. Go leave a comment on Instagram. Let me know if you're excited and what your favorite episode of Marvelous Moms has been. And we're going to be sharing about this even more as we close out this show to make room for the next. So thank you for being a loyal listener. We have thousands of you, and I'm so grateful to each one of you for supporting this beautiful brand. And with that, I will leave you to have a great weekend, have a marvelous day, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Are you looking for a fun activity, some inspiration for your homeschool journey, some travel ideas, or anything under the sun that might pertain to motherhood? Make sure you've checked out all the new amazing content on MarvelousMomsClub.com. It's become an amazing collaborative community full of so many messages from moms from all around the world. So if you're looking for something that strikes your fancy, inspires you, teaches you, or just lifts you up when you're feeling down, go check out MarvelousMomsClub.com today.